Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, The Divine Lux Soul. I am very creative today. I wasn't going to do this until a few days from now, but I just I just finished talking with a beautiful soul author, Ahima, and I was doing some post-production videos, and I was just like, I might as well take an opportunity to talk with everyone who are subscribers to the channel and who are people who do just come in to watch videos. I really do appreciate everyone's attention. I appreciate everyone's support. I truly appreciate every single one of you out there. Some of you I know, a lot of you I don't know. So if you guys would like to get to know me and let yourselves be known on the channel, reach out, make comments down below the video so I know that you're heard and you're seen. But if you want to stay in the silence, that's totally fine. Just listen to what I have to say and it'll all work out. But that being said, everyone, I want to introduce season 4. Yeah, we're in season 4. And this season, it changed a couple times. I think another season we're going to do some other stuff, but this season is going to be titled The Fifth Element. And the reason why I want to do the fifth element or to explore the fifth element is because I feel like a lot of people are, let's say, misteaching it. They are misguiding it in a way. And if you guys don't know, I know the movie The Fifth Element is, what's it called? What everyone's thinking about. Think about that, but also, try not to think of the fifth element as something that's outside of yourself. The fifth element is everything that you are, everything that I am, that consciousness that I just said it. That I am energy is your fifth element, and I'm explaining why I'm calling it the fifth element. So if you guys notice or not on this planet, there's air, fire, water, and earth. So we can say the air is our lungs, right? We breathe in and out. That's the wind. The pranayama comes in to our nostrils to fill our lungs, and then we expel out energy back into Mother Gaia. And if you guys have noticed, the wind patterns on this planet, it's the same way. It's a ebb and flow when it comes to wind. It rushes in, it stops for a little bit, then it rushes back out. So that's where the wind element in ourselves come from, and our physical bodies come from. I'll say that. Another part of elemental chart is number 2, water. We talked about this already in episode 3 in season 1. Our bodies are about 70% water, so we embody everything of this earth, which means we are embodying all the earth's knowledge, all the water knowledge on this planet is inside of us. And if we never use our fifth dimensional consciousness to access those codes, we're never going to understand and never going to activate the keys to this physical vehicle that we call a body. That was not in my show notes, but that's what came out. But that is how I truly understood what water really is. When we infuse our fifth dimensional consciousness, can we start unlocking the body, and the body can start doing so much more than just work, have sex, look at a phone, or do something else, another activity I haven't mentioned. So the body does more than what they teach it, and that's what this season is about, is teaching everyone that the body does more when you have the knowledge and when you have the keys, the right master keys to turn on that car, and then finally you're telling the car what to do. And then also the earth, we are the flesh, right? As God said, he made this out of clay. And if you guys have noticed, yes, there's different colors of clay. There's a white cliffs of Dover all the way down to black sandy obsidian beaches. So what does that all mean, guys? That being that our bodies, the flesh is, and the bone is of this earth, it represents all shades. There's no distinction between the shades. It's all the same clay. And that is the third element of what I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to consciousness, is knowing that. And when we know that the earth embodies everyone, every shade, can we stop the division? Can we stop the hatred? Can we stop saying my culture is better than your culture, my skin type is better than your skin type? When you're a conscious, evolved being, you understand all the colors of the earth are represented. All the colors of the earth are beautiful. And that is what we're talking about with number 3. Now, the fourth element is the fire, right? That's the heart. That's the blood that's inside of you. If it wasn't for your heart pumping and putting its heat into the blood and keeping the body warm, we wouldn't really be here. So again, that is the fire. And just like I was mentioning with, I'll say this, now that we've finished the 4 physical elements, air, the lungs, water in the body, that's number 2. 3, the earth, which is our flesh and bone. And then 4, the fire, which is the heart and blood. Now comes the 5th element, which is our consciousness, our astral self, the crown up here, right? And as we talked about in previous seasons, this is the way we communicate to the universe. Yes, besides our heart consciousness, our third eye, our 5-dimensional consciousness infuses into the 4 elements. And this is the 5th element that animates this whole entire avatar. So again, guys, this is what many spiritual practices of Hinduism, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, Hermetic philosophies, even Judean philosophies, the Kabbalah talks about it. The Christian faith kind of alludes to it, but they leave out a lot of stuff. And the Mayan Popol Vuh talks all about the same thing. When there's no consciousness in the body no longer animates. But when there's a consciousness in the body animates. This is why it's important when babies are born that when the baby starts to cry, bam, that consciousness is fully awake in that body. So that wasn't in my show notes either, but it came out. So that is why I wanted to title this the 5th element, is because when you're aware of your 5th element, when you're aware of yourself, can you start to have control of yourself? You start to have control of your thoughts, meaning you observe them. You start to have control of your hand gestures, meaning you sit back and observe why you're shouting at someone. You sit back and observe why you are pointing at someone. You start to observe your actions and not be the seer. Now, we talked about this before in season 1, but a better way of explaining it. The seer is the one that is just looking at life as it's coming at you. The observer is the one that looks at life as it's happening. Well, it's you're in control of it as an observer. I'll say that. So that is the difference between a seer and a doer. The observer is the one that takes the conscious effort to really look at the actions, look at the thoughts, look at the mental patterns, and understand that our thoughts, our emotions, our actions are our inner world, outer world pushed out, meaning whatever is going on in your inner world is going to get pushed out into your outer world, meaning if you are constantly angry, what are you going to find in your outer world? Anger. If you're constantly depressed and dark and sad, what are you going to find in your outer world? It's going to reflect it back. If you are constantly in survival mode, or you're constantly in lack, guess what's going to materialize in your outer world? Exactly, lack and survival. You'll be scratching out of existence. But if we can shift our conscious minds and start observing ourselves, start observing that thought of I'm not enough, and say, okay, let me stop saying that and let me tell myself I am enough. Will you start getting the reflection back? This wasn't my show notes either. Will you start getting the reflection back in your outer world, and it's going to start reflecting the way that you never imagined it. Or you tell yourself, I'm happy today. Will your outer world start to change? Now, it's going to be subtle changes at first, because in my experience with it, with my journey with it, when you first start to change your habits of the way you do things, it's a very subtle shift in your outer world. But if you keep going, you're going to see your outer world eventually start shifting. But that being said, so this season, like I said, guys, we are, without further ado, we are exploring the fifth element, which is your true conscious awareness self. It is that awareness you don't see every day. It's the awareness that is hiding behind this body, or this vessel, this vehicle, this avatar, whatever any culture wants to call it. It's all the same thing. Our true selves are hiding, not hiding, our true selves are covered up by this physical, dense stack of cells, flesh and bone. But when you start to evolve yourself out of that, I'm just only flesh, bone, and just a human, and you start to infuse yourself into I'm a being as well, or you start to elevate the being. That's what I'm trying to say. When you start to elevate the being, um, that is when you come into a true cohesive, let's say, incarnation, the way Christ did, the way Siddhartha did, the way Buddha did, and so many countless other heroes in different texts and stories that I can't remember right now. But that is the true nature of all of those incarnations, and why they're so, in my opinion, so important to so many different religions. But when you don't understand that, um, those are just not stories. That's just not a fairy tale that they teach us as kids or adults to teach to us. It's not something outside of yourself. I'll say that. When people stopped thinking of these stories as something that's outside of them, and start thinking of themselves as Buddha, start thinking of themselves as Christ consciousness, start thinking of themselves as any other hero in any other religious text, will you start to understand, oh my God, this story is me. I am this story all at the same time. And then can we all start evolving together? And that is, I see 111 on the clock as I'm talking about this truth and divine, which is confirmation to me to keep going with my angel numbers. But we're going to be exploring the fifth element, the unseen consciousness. And when the unseen consciousness starts to rise, can we or have a more beautiful, aligned, uh, unafraid journey in this life? And then also, I want to say to everyone, we are going to be explore dissolving the physical ego. If you guys don't know who the physical ego is, that is the ego that likes the praise and worship. That's the ego that likes to say, look at me. That is the ego that says, do you like my body? Anna Nicole Smith. That is the ego that likes the flash and dash, meaning you want to show everyone that you're either wealthy, you're spiritually aware. That does happen to a lot of people. My beliefs, my thoughts are better than yours. That is the physical ego. And we're going to be diving deeper into how to start dissolving those patterns of the ego, and understanding what the physical ego can do to a soul, or what it can do to a mind when it's unchecked. I'll say that. And then we'll also be pivoting into a more kinder, more self-aware place, meaning stop the inner dialogue of you're not enough, stop the inner dialogue of I hate you. People do tell themselves that. Stop the inner dialogue that you're a piece of shit. I've heard people say that too about themselves. Stop the internal dialogue as I'm broken. Stop the internal dialogue of I hate life. Stopping the internal dialogue that life is hard. Stopping the internal dialogue that no one likes me. Those are all things of the hatred and division that are taught to us, especially in the Western cultures. And coming into this season, we'll be exploring concepts of how to be more kind to yourself, how to start saying more kinder things to yourself, and how to start to fall back in love with yourself. And we're also going to be pivoting and finding peace on this season of the fifth element, which is you. I always tell my students when I do my yin classes, close the eyes, close the windows to the soul. When you start to close the windows to the soul, do you start to close off the visual um, picture and you start to turn within? And I always tell my students to use their ears to map the world and just listen to the outside world. And then once they get a tune of what's going on outside of them, I always tell my students to notice the peace within. And every time I do that, I see the little shifts after we come out of it, where people are just finally understanding that, running off to a retreat, going on another vacation, cutting yourself off from the world, that's not the answer. The answer is already there inside of you. You don't have to do those things. Now, it's wonderful to do those things, but always chasing down a new experience, a new spiritual something to find peace. And I feel like people are doing all these different retreats and long-term vacations because they're chasing the peace and they're missing the whole point of this whole exercise of life. Is the peace is already within. You can go anywhere and be peaceful as long as you understand that the peace is already within inside. You can thrive anywhere. That was one of my yoga flows a few weeks ago. Once you understand that peace is inside of you, you can thrive anywhere you are. It can be a freaking nuclear attack happening outside of you, but you understand that the true peace, the true inner peace, already exists inside of you. And then I feel like in my experience with finding inner peace is, can I find the mundane life just as beautiful as taking a fancy vacation somewhere else around the globe. So again, that is what we're discovering or talking about on this season. And also finding your sanctuary, as we just talked about. Your peaceful sanctuary is already inside of you. You don't have to go to church to find it. You don't have to go to a temple to find it. You don't have to pray under a tree to find it. You can do it within your own house. You can do it within your own work, your car, anywhere that you are the sanctuary, you are the temple. So that is what I want to talk to everyone about this season as well. And then we're also going to journey into past life regression or past lives. And yeah, I'll bring my therapist on and we'll talk all about that. It's quite a fascinating journey that I took last year. The reason why I could talk about it today with everyone. And then I'll start bringing on authors. I love to read. So if you are an author out there, you've written a book or some poems, get in contact with me. I'd love to read it and bring you on the show. So if you are interested in a one-on-one with me and you'd like to get your book highlighted, I'm definitely down to talk to you about it. Again, I love to read. And also, this season, I'm going to introduce my true self. We're going to talk about identity shifts. We're going to talk about letting go of the download of physical you, which is the person that your tribe told you you had to be. Or if you didn't get it from your tribe, you created a personality that you currently are living out of survival to exist in this world. And we do that quite a lot. We do it out of survival because we went to school. We do it out of survival because we learned of this new religion that we're supposed to follow. We do it out of peer pressure. We create this is where the physical ego comes. We create physical identities that are not of our true selves. I just saw a video online that said be brave enough to, you know, go out there and live your life like a 4-year-old wearing a Batman T-shirt. And I thought that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen anyone post out there on the socials. Is think back to, I want everyone to think back to that time to where you were that confident 4-year-old, 5-year-old, you know, wearing a Batman T-shirt or a Spider-Man costume or a tutu, and you were just like the best superhero, and you knew exactly what you wanted to do in life. So that's what I want to bring people back to, is getting back in touch with your truest self. And I'm just going to say it. With that identity shift, I also shifted my identity. I no longer identify as Al. I know that's what I've been saying for the longest time. But this last, I want to say 6 to 7 months, last July, I did a lot of rearranging my life. I had just graduated from my yoga teacher training program, and then I was reading a lot of spiritual books, as you guys saw last season on the podcast. And it was a lot of introspection. It was a lot of, people would call it the hermit mode. And I had to go on that journey to discover my true self. Like I said, you know, peel back all the layers, come through like a wrecking ball, like Miley Ray Cyrus said. That song had a lot more spiritual tones than what it was promoted as. But I came through my life like a wrecking ball, and I just demolished the whole thing. And I feel a lot of people in my life at the time were just wondering what was going on, where have I been, what happened. But the actuality of it all was I was going through a demolition. I observed my life. I looked at it from the outside. None of it, and I mean none of it, resonated with what I was feeling back in July of 2025. And that's when I just started to get the wrecking ball out. I started the demolition myself, and I just started at the door and just started to just bash down different walls, different schools of thought that I was downloaded with. Um, I started to look at my mental capacity. I started to look at my actions. I started to look at how I dealt with people. I started to re-examine the way I spoke to myself, how I spoke to others, how I treated others. I even went through my relationships, my past relationships, my current relationships with my friends, ex-partners. I went through my Christianity download. What was that about? I went through how I looked at relationships. I went through how I went about sex in life. That was a very different journey for Al. I went through so much in the last couple months that I had no one to talk to about it, or let's say this, Al didn't find the right people to talk about spirituality with, to talk about life demolition with, talking about new spiritual paths, and reawakening and rebirth, a death and a rebirth and a resurrection. I had no one in my life to talk about that. So the only thing I could find at the time is my podcast. So if you guys want to check out last season and the other 2 seasons before that, it is a virtual journey of someone finding themselves. And that's the best way I can say about it. And again, once I demolished myself, or my old self, I started to rebuild myself. I started to meditate on things I wanted to do in my life. I started to find different creative ways to be that bold 4-year-old again, who was happy and loved to dance, loved to be the class clown. That 4-year-old that loved to create and draw and make things with his hands, and just be curious about everyone. And that is who I channeled in these last couple of months, and I was having a hard time going to work. A lot of you guys know in the podcast, I work as a flight attendant, and towards like October of last year, going to November of last year, I had a hard time at work, meaning we wear name tags at work, and you know, when we have to meet other crew members or pilots, we always have to keep saying our names. And at the time, I was having a hard time saying I'm out, and I didn't want to say it anymore. I no longer felt close to him. I didn't feel any tie to him anymore. It was almost like a character that I was being, and now all of a sudden that actor is gone. That actor is no longer on stage, and I'm just like floundering, not sure how to say it to people. And then sometimes I wouldn't say my name, or the pilot would be like, "Well, isn't your name Al?" And I'm like, "Well, that's what that name tag says." But in my mind, I'm like, I don't know who that is anymore. And I remember the first time this happened to me, where I actually realized that I was having a departure from being Al Harvin Jr. We were signing into a hotel. We have arrived really late into Indianapolis. That's where it was. I know, coincidence that I checked back into the same hotel I started the podcast in. And we were signing in, and I was misspelling my last name, and I kept scratching it out. And when the flight attendant's just like, "You're 46," no, 45 at the time. She's like, "You're 45. How can you not know your name?" And I just laughed it off. But in actuality, that was a signal to myself that I was departing from being Al D. Harvin Jr. Now, I didn't know what to call this new personality. I just knew that I was existing as my true self. Fast forward into 2026. If you guys saw it or not, I went to Las Vegas with a very beautiful person that I'm dating right now. His name is Mateo. We had just come back from Vegas, and it was like either the January 28th or 29th. And I didn't have work. I didn't go back to work until February. And I was just sitting at home one evening, and this video popped up. This very handsome guy, but that sometimes that does draw the attention. And what he was talking about, his name is Quasi. I think that's what I got. I think that's what his name is. And he was talking about the Kabbalah. And as you guys know, I kind of know what the Kabbalah is. I read the, what's it called? Hermetic philosophy, which is very similar to that. But the way he explained Kabbalah, it made sense to me. And he was talking about how when we dissolve the old program, when we dissolve the old actor, and the old actor no longer serves us, and let's just, for lack of better words, kill it or put it to death, we must create a new, or we must come back into discovery of our true self and give it a name. And so as he's talking about this philosophy in Kabbalah, I was just like, oh my gosh, like it just started to dawn in here that I never gave my new to my conscious self, but my subconscious, my true self, knew all about this name, but my conscious mind didn't know anything about it. So the speaker encouraged everyone who was listening to the show that day to either pause the video or listen to him finish talking, and then get to a quiet place, turn off the phone, put it in a different spot if you can, lock the door, throw on a candle if you need to. And he's encouraged the listener to get into a quiet place, get into meditation. And he's like, once you're in that meditative space, then ask your true self, what is my name? What is my true name? And so that's what I did. I got into a quiet place, turned my phone off, and that's when it came to me. I wasn't in meditation for more than 5 minutes, and I asked myself, what is my true name? And then what came through was Kamal, Kamal. And I was just like, Kamal, huh, that's interesting. And then I said to my own self, Kamal, is that what you mean? And then it came back and said again, like, and just bold as I'm talking to you right now, Kamal. It was just very short. We'll come back to why I'm laughing about that, but it was very clear and concise what it wanted to say, or what I wanted to say. And then I asked myself one last time just to get clarity before I leave this event. And it said Kamal, this like in this booming voice, Kamal. And then I said, okay, so it's Kamal, and it didn't answer me again. And so I stayed in meditation for a little bit. I came out of meditation, and I had a little notepad close to me, and I wrote my name down. I think I watched one more video of what he was talking about with the Kabbalah, which solidified everything that he taught that day. And without even thinking about it, I went to bed. I won't know. I texted Matteo buonanotte. I learned that in Italian, which is good night. And once I said goodnight to Matteo, I went to bed, woke up the next morning. And as I'm waking up, drinking my mushroom coffee and getting myself together, I saw my notepad, Kamal. And I'm like, let me look this up. And so that's when I looked it up. And Kamal means a few things. In Sanskrit, Kamal means lotus flower. And if you guys are familiar with lotus flowers are nourished in the muddy, nutrient-rich waters of a river. And when the roots get deep enough and they find that sweet spot in life, can it start to sprout the leaves to produce that beautiful lotus flower that we all see sitting on top of the water? And that's the evolution of a lotus flower, if you guys haven't paid attention to the evolution of one. So that is what the word in Sanskrit means, is lotus flower. And it's really a completion of an awakening experience, I would say. So that's what I looked up, and then I looked it up in Arabic. The Arabic version of it means completeness, oneness, and perfection, which goes back to what a lotus flower looks like, but no one really knows what happened deep down in that muddy water. Everyone sees the beautiful evolved version of the flower, but they don't understand that the deep roots of the nutrient well, of the nutrient spring, is really down below in the muddy waters. So that is my new name I like to be known by. So if you guys hear it a lot on the podcast and coming forward, in the days and years to come, I would like to be known as Kamal, and I'll be introducing myself as Kamal. So that is what we're experiencing on this. So again, guys, this is why I wanted to talk so much about the fifth element on this episode, is because, or the season, is because I'm in my new era of Kamal. I'm in my era of awakening and completion and the beauty and the bliss of being an awakened individual. Now, is the cycle ever done? No. One withers out, another flower comes up. But what I want to say to everyone is this, guys. This life path, this life journey is yours to discover. It is yours to nourish. And also to everyone, the nourishing waters, the nourishing roots is where you find your nourishment. It's not in a video. It's not in another preacher. It's not at church. It's not at another spiritual retreat. It's not really even at yoga. But those are just different nutrients, currents filtering through your root system. But when you have a solid root foundation and you find that nutrients flow in and out, or in and away from you, flows through you, now you can pick up a few of those nutrients and put it into your flower. But understanding that the root is you, the deep muddy waters is where the nutrition really comes from. can you start to evolve yourself and start to evolve your awareness and come into a more beautiful consciousness, come into a more beautiful life, come into a beautifully bloom, fragrant lotus flower sitting on the river, looking like it's not doing anything, but it's doing quite a lot. So that is the season I'm in, is my lotus flower season. So again, my name is Kamal, and that is the rebranding that we are doing on this season. So once again, guys, long story short, it's been 30 minutes. The fifth element, that's you and me. That's the thing that's animating my lips, animating my eyes, animating my hands right now, animating my heart, animating my throat, and animating my mind. I am the one in there in control of it for the first time. And that is what I want to explore in this season. So come with me on this journey with Kamal. I'll have lots to talk about this season. I've done a lot of work over this last month. I lived a lot of life. So there's a lot of things I want to do. And there's more to come. So again, guys, I'm Kamal. Thanks for paying attention to what I had to say. Thank you for tuning in. I want to say this to everyone. Hit the like button if you liked everything I just talked about. I just saw this in another video. Hit that ding dong, that bell, that little bell on the podcast channel to subscribe. You can always share the video to others. You can always tell others about it. And you can always talk about, hey, this guy's going through this, identity shift, and his name went from Al to Kamal. You should check out this video, or check out this season, check out the channel. So again, guys, this is live rebirth happening in front of everyone's eyes. I see there's a more perfected soul coming forth by day, and that soul is Kamal. So again, guys, I'm Kamal, and continue with me on this spiritual journey. Have a beautiful day, everyone, and always on this channel, not only to stay curious about yourself, but be curious and stay curious about others. Because like I said, guys, you never know where a hello is going to take you in life, and how that connection, how that other person will help you on your spiritual journey. You help them on their spiritual journey all at the same time. But again, if you never take that opportunity to reach out and say hi, make eye contact with a human, you never have that experience. It'd be a missed opportunity. Again, I'm Kamal. This is the Divine Lux Soul podcast. Thank you for paying attention. Have a beautiful day, everybody. And, that's all I have to say. See you next time.